Hello, welcome to another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. I'm Wayne Highlander, Director of Sales for Bona Adhesives.
And I'm Rob Johnson from Bona Training.
Hey, you doing, Rob?
Pretty good. How's it going?
It's going really good.
Oh, that's good.
You know, I thought I found an episode here I think I'd like to take a look back at. I thought it was a really good episode. That is one where you made minimal mistakes, and one I think we ought to revisit. What do you say?
So it has nothing to do with the openings that we have to suffer through your mistakes. This is one that's mistake-free? Yeah, let's roll the tape.
Hello, welcome to another episode of On the Floor with Wayne and Rob. I'm Wayne Highlander, National Sales Manager for Bona Adhesives.
And I'm Rob Johnson from Bona Training.
Rob, we're going to talk. This might be the most important episode we've ever done.
I'm not laughing. I
thought I would let you know that right now as we start.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, we've done on prostate exams. We've done stuff on
We've done play-by-plays.
We've done a lot of health issues, PSAs.
Yeah.
But this episode is going to be on chasing perfection. The reason I think this is important is that lately, in the last couple of years, I've talked to floor guys that seem to be driving themselves out of their mind, chasing perfection. And I'm not saying it's a negative thing. I'm not saying that's the case or whatever, but it's a double-edged sword, and I put myself at the front of the line, being every bit as guilty as a lot of guys for this.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Yes, you can.
Have you ever heard my perfection part of my opening for the classes, for the schools?
Many times, and I don't remember any bit of it. So please.
Oh my God, it's perfect for this. It's absolutely perfect.
Hit me with your best shot.
And I said this to my kid because Bum was, he's just a crazy perfectionist, to the point where it was very annoying to have me come work with him. Because I know that, no, finish will cover that, you don't have to get the, I know these things. Okay. I know what we can, what's not going to show up and what will show up. He thinks everything's going to show up. He's a perfectionist. So I tell my class at the start of every class, there is no such thing as a perfect floor. There is no perfect floor out there. Even you floor of the year winners, there's no perfect floor out there. But by chasing perfection, you'll achieve excellent floors. How do you like that?
I think it lines up exactly what I thought we would talk about.
I wish it was completely mine, but I stole it from a football coach.
Okay. Well, you're being honest.
Yeah. But I thought when I read that, I went, oh man, there's a lot of floor guys out there that I need to say this to. But it's the truth.
Yeah.
We all get the eye, right? We all get that Sanders eye, no matter where we go, restaurants, stores, friends' houses, no matter where. A wood floor man always sees the wood floor. And he always and most of us always say the same thing. How did he get paid for this? I wouldn't have got paid for that. How did he get paid for that job? Yeah. I never get paid for that job, ever. Yeah. Right?
And we always assume he did get paid, though. Isn't that funny?
That's right.
We don't know if he got paid or not.
But I think that Sanders eye, every time you see something, the next job, you remember it, you try to correct it. And I think that's the whole thing of being a craftsman and caring and caring about what you do, because you're thinking back, well, you saw X, Y, Z at the last job. I don't want to do that again. So I'm going to change what I did. And you're constantly seeing that. And that's the eye. That's the whole trying to make the job perfect and achieving excellence.
Yes. So I mean, you were right on it, right on the same page with this, because I mean, true perfection it's a necessary goal, because it's it's unattainable though, right? I mean, it's like, as you said, and I think you have to reconcile yourself with failure and living up to that. And you got to make peace with that, and then get out your tools and start on the next job. And if that failure hurts, to your point, if that failure hurts bad enough, and it probably will, you're going to learn from that, right? And you'll take that to the next job. And so rather than chase perfection, if you chase excellence, as you said, because you'll just, it's a cycle of never ending disappointments. If that's how you're going to live your life. I'm telling you, I I spent a lot of time in my life chasing the perfect job. And here's the thing, the reason why that's a problem, like perfectionism is often seen as a positive trait, right? Increases your chances of success, which is how I always, that was my reasoning behind it, right? I mean, if it's perfect, how can anybody give me a hard time about it? How can I not get paid? But it can lead to self-defeating thoughts of behavior that makes it hard to achieve these goals. And it causes stress, it causes anxiety and depression, and for some people, other mental health issues. And it's real. I've talked to guys that I feel sorry for. And listen, I'm not judging at all, because I have 100% been there. That your whole life is like, man, trying to get a perfect floor. And if it isn't, how do you keep living up to that time and time again? So I think when you stop chasing perfection and you start going after excellence, right? I mean, and by the way, my level of perfection is mine. It's not somebody else's. Like, somebody else what I think is perfect might not be perfect to somebody else. Although I'd like to meet the man. But anyway, sorry. But you know what I mean?
I dare you.
Yes. So, I mean, there's no end to perfection. That's the problem. And the chase continues forever. It just keeps going. You're never in control of things, because no matter how hard you try, and no matter how much you work, you'll miss something here or there. And you also miss out on, I think, a lot of life and balance in life. So how about that?
Wayne, I was reading something kind of funny now that we're into this whole perfection thing. A very successful CEO, and I know you're thinking you don't read. I'm going to take that joke right away from you.
Oh man, it was
Right
so
away.
there. Thank
Yeah,
you.
exactly. Yeah, you ain't getting that one.
Okay.
And I was very surprised to hear him say, don't let perfect get in the way of good. And that just kind of blew me away, because you wouldn't think that somebody at that level would say something like that. I thought we were always supposed to go for perfection.
Yeah. Before we go any farther with this, completely unrelated, but did you see? Everybody else is talking about it, so we might as well talk about it too. You saw who was Will Smith slap Chris? What's the name?
Horrible. Horrible.
That's what you thought?
Absolutely horrible. Yes.
I thought it was absolutely despicable. I felt so sorry for Chris. Chris, what's his last name? Damn it.
Chris Rock.
Chris Rock, of course.
Rock.
I felt so sorry for Chris Rock, and that he had to complete that show after what happened to him, and I was disgusted. And I'll never. The problem is, the thing is, I like both of them a lot, and I'll never. Will Smith is done to me. I'll never feel. I'll never. That's it. Never get past that.
That superhero movie that he did, Hancock, I thought was one of the funniest movies ever. There's some scenes and lines in that movie that are just still make me laugh. But I don't want to try to play the tough guy here, but I'm not getting smacked in the face in front of the world and not getting my shot in and just letting him walk away with his chest stuck out. That was, I mean, he's got to live with that for the rest of his life. Even if I run up from behind him.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's what, if you put yourself in his shoes, like I'd like to say the same thing, and we all would say the same thing, but in reality, the man had a show to do. There was people depending on him, and he was in a bad place. So I don't blame him for not doing that. I think he's a bigger man, and I was desperately sorry for him that happened.
So you don't think you'd hit him?
I listen. I'd love to say that I would, and maybe I would. But I mean, you get where Chris is at, man. He had a show to do. He had people depending on him, and that would have been the easy thing to do. I think it was much tougher for him to do it. Now afterwards, 100%. It was 100%, but not during the show. So anyhow, just crossed my mind. I don't know why it crossed my mind.
So you probably feel like slapping me. Is that what this is about?
I would never do that. Gosh.
And the other thing too is it's a slap. Go up, punch the guy. If that's what you feel like you're doing,
Yeah.
punch him. Throw a punch. But a
Yeah.
slap?
Yeah.
It was. Now that was horrible. Terrible.
Yeah. All right. So back to what we were talking about. That was like a commercial. That's not right across my mind. Here's the problem with chasing perfection. And like I said, I only bring it up because I see how much guys are losing sleep and how they're stressing on it, and holy smokes, I mean, this holding yourself to a standard that is unattainable. What it does is it kind of takes away your joy in life, and your feeling of accomplishment, and the things that you have done in life, and being grateful for what you've done. And I think you'll be more grateful and feel more positive if you could get in that mindset that and I've always admired, like I never understood it when I was a contractor, and I would talk to other contractors, some very successful ones, that would say, hey Wayne, hey, it's just a floor. I mean, let's not get excited, it's just a floor. And that was their attitude. And it wasn't that they were any less than me or whatever, but I think it was a much healthier attitude that was very difficult to me to get to that it was just a floor. That maybe because some of these guys weren't doing the actual work, you know what I mean, that they had guys out on the job. I think there's a difference there, by the way. I think when you're the guy on your hands and knees all day on that job, and putting all that effort into it, and God knows how hard this work is, that when you stand back and you're not satisfied, I think it cuts a little deeper, because it's your blood, sweat, and tears that are on the floor. I could be wrong. That's the way I look at it. I say I could be wrong often, knowing that I'm probably actually not, Rob.
You don't mean that when you say you could be wrong.
I'm leaving the
You
door
said
open.
I'm wrong on that one. But when you say I could be wrong, that's when you're telling everybody I'm definitely right on this one.
Yes. Well, here, if you can get to this place in life, you'll start looking at stuff as an achievement, instead of something less than. And I see guys will do this. Will say, "Oh man, the floor looks sensational." Guy, yeah, I know, but there's that one board right there. Either a sap grain in there, and it's in a bad spot, and but if you stand farther away and look at it with a different perspective, it's sensational looking. There's no other way to put it. So don't put the benchmark so high.
Some guys can't, you're right. Some guys can't pat themselves on the back
Yeah.
and say, hey, this really does look good.
Yeah.
And then there's guys like me who are like, man, this is amazing. Everything I touch, look at it, beautiful. Yeah, but what about this, and this? Look at the coffee table's gonna go right there. That doesn't matter.
Yes. Well, the other thing, Rob, what it kind of does, you're held hostage almost to perfectionism. And if you can get past that, it's very free, okay, to get past that. And I've talked to guys that are, and some people think that, well, I'm not good enough, or I'm not whatever, because I haven't hit that threshold. Another person might do not near as quality work and enjoying the ride a whole lot more, because they're not just beating the hell out of themselves on being a perfectionist. I see it differently now because I'm farther away from it. Like I said, I have very few regrets, but I was a perfectionist, and I was very difficult for me to get to that level of thinking, oh, you know what, it's just a floor, it's okay. This one didn't go so good as we wanted to. We'll get it on the next one. So I am, I'm saying what should be done. And I will first admit that I had a hard time. And you know what? Maybe because actually no one ever told me this either, by the way. You know what I mean? I never had another perspective where somebody said, another craftsman said, it's okay. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean, you know, and you know, guys are sharing pictures on social media. And I think this is such a problem too, where guys will show pictures on social media. And a guy will put it out there. It's like putting yourself out there, man. You know what I mean? You're putting your heart out there. And to somebody, that's their best work. And then somebody else will say, look at this joint right here. This is the blah, blah, blah. How come you didn't do this and whatever? And you crush the guy. You know what I mean? I mean, he probably, that's his best work today. And tomorrow, his best work might be better than that. So I hate to see, especially when it comes from a really a stud. I think some people don't realize how much your words mean to somebody else, especially someone coming up. On a post recently on one of the flooring sites, Willie Short is a fantastic human being, and his whole family is great down there in Louisiana. They're just good people, and he's a really good guy. And he was at a class, and he was sharing that somebody that attended the class emailed him several months later and said, "Hey, just want to let you know what this meant to me having you there, and what I learned from you. And we're already implementing some of those things." And I just thought, you know, and that really was heartfelt from Willie, that this meant a lot to him. And I think that's the highest compliment. You know, you're sharing your knowledge and whatever with somebody else, and somebody got it, and it meant something to them. I think if people really understood how important words are, I think they would probably do things a little differently on the social media.
When Pete and I left my dad's company, that was one of the toughest transitions that we had.
When you and Pete left your dad's company?
We left our dad's company, we left my dad's company, and we started our own company. We started RJ Associates. That was the toughest thing that we had. We were assuming that the residential business was just going to be so simple. It's not 15,000 foot gym. It's not a 60-lane bowling. It's not a factory floor. You're not working nights. This is going to be simple. But we did not have the mindset when we started about residential and residential customers and their expectations, because they are expecting perfect. Your customer's expecting a perfect floor. You know, that's the one thing that was tough for him and I to really, we had to do a lot of changing pretty quick. And that was a real tough transition from going from that commercial side to the residential side. But we got it. It took us a little bit.
You know what's funny about that is because I always thought the gym guys had it lucky, because who really cares? It's a gym floor owned by a lot of different people. And you know what I mean? Who really looks at it that close? And it must be easier for them because, you know, unlike a homeowner who's actually paying for it and they're standing right there. You know, I was completely wrong after I got to know gym guys. Holy smokes, the standard that they're held to and how hard they work and how much pride they have in their jobs. I was wrong on that. I just didn't know those guys.
Yeah. When you're standing in a bowling alley, it needs to be within 30 thousandths of an inch flat. We have all these special leveling sanders and everything. So that's where we thought, my God, we're masters of the universe. The residential game is going to be so easy. So I think it's just where you came from, right? And then trying to transition from one to the other. But listening to you talking about perfection, I just think back to some of the first residential jobs we did, you know.
Yeah.
It was,
I don't want to forget this because you brought up something very important. And my uncle was the best at this. But as I've got away from him and started doing my own thing and reflecting back on him, he wasn't like the greatest floor guy out there by no means. And I don't want to disparage him because he was a freaking great guy and he was a good craftsman. But he was a good craftsman. He wasn't one of those guys chasing perfection. He did a very serviceable job, a very nice job, and that was it. But nobody gave him a hard time about anything like that because the way his demeanor with the homeowner was I mean, what he ever lacked in the craftsmanship side, on the dealing with the homeowner side, oh, he was another level, man.
He was a craftsman, huh?
He was I mean, he was a sweetheart. I mean, you couldn't,
Nice.
when he
Yes.
explained something to you, I don't care how mad you were or what you thought, he puts you at ease so much, and that you never had any problems. And we go to the next job. And I hear the homeowner go, well, what about this? And I thought, blah, blah. I'm thinking, how's he going to get out of this one? And it was just a thing of beauty to watch him. It was I marveled at him, how he could just put, and part of that, he was a wonderful human being. But the other thing too is, I think that, you said the homeowner is expecting perfection. I think a lot of this too is sometimes we go into these jobs saying, hey, I'm so good. We are, oh, look at this. This guy did crap work. We are the best. And you already set yourself up for having expectations that are off the charts. And so that's one thing, is that, put their expectations in line of what's reality, number one. And two is be ready to defend your work if something does come up without getting hostile. And that's another problem that I see some people have, that just the way, I mean, look, like I said, your blood, sweat, and tears, your heart and soul goes into these floors. So if anybody says anything that's not glowing,
Your children are ugly.
yes, yeah, 100%. So how do we handle that now?
Yeah.
So
So you're going to go Will Smith on them. Boom.
you want to bad.
Yes.
And so what I've learned, and I've also learned this about sending emails if I'm hot. Wait a day, wait 2 days if you're really hot. I've only sent one email in my life I regretted as a sales rep. One email in my entire career, and it ended up being fine. The guy was okay with whatever, but I still regret it. And we're on good terms today, but
listen, I'm never going to hold that against you. That's water under the bridge. All right. Don't worry about it. I can't believe you're still thinking about that even. Don't. I'm fine.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm
You
fine.
brought your family into it. Yeah. So
I'm fine.
But you also have to take a step back and really take a breath. And because I see guys go from 0 to 90 and just with one comment. So, and I've seen that on inspections too. So I think that's something, if I know that's a shortcoming of mine, then I'll want to have a game plan. I got to take in what they said. I'll acknowledge it. I'll try to repeat what they said so they understand that I know what they're talking about. And then I'll try to see it from their perspective, and then I'll blow up on them. No, just kidding.
Well, as you said, my shortcomings, I was thinking, you're Adhesive's national sales manager. You don't have any shortcomings.
Not anymore.
You wouldn't have, when the title
I washed everything away.
Washed all that away. Yeah, washed it all away. Exactly.
All right. So anyhow, that's all that I thought it was a good time to talk about this, because it's only been recently that I have been talking. It just seems like it's happening more than ever now that when I talk to guys that this has come up. You strive for continually getting better. That doesn't change, for improvement, but strive for excellence and getting better on each job, and maybe not chasing perfection. And it's a journey it's a road that just you can't win that battle.
I gotta tell you this. We're talking about perfection, and you were at the school this week. Do you remember the guy who was sitting right in the front row to my right? The kid, the guy from New York City.
Yes.
Adam Verano.
Yes, I sure do.
Okay. He was watching me do the T-bar, and I could tell that he was really watching, so I was assuming that he wasn't a T-bar guy. He was a roller. But when he took the T-bar and he started going with it, I was like, wow, this guy. And I even kind of mentioned to him, like, you've had a T-bar. He goes, oh yeah, I'm a T-bar guy. He goes, I T-bar everything. I go, yeah, you look, because a lot of times at the school, not only are they, we're teaching T-bar, a lot of times it's the first time anybody's ever touched the T-bar when they come to the class. But you could tell Adam was, he was good really good, working his way out of the room. I mean,
Yeah.
he was actually helping guys. That's another part of the bonus Santa Finish schools that I love is we'll have guys who don't have a lot of experience, and then we have guys who have tons of experience, which is, and the great part about these guys and about all floor guys, that's one thing I've noticed. They just love to show people what they know. They love to share. They love to coach. They love to teach. So he was working with a couple of guys, showing him their little tricks and everything. So we get all done coating. We're waiting for stuff to dry, and I'm doing a little PowerPoint. And we're talking, and Adam looked at me and kind of right in the middle of everything, he goes, "Are they going to have any of those T-bar contests? Any regional?" And I had no idea what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And I said, T-bar contest, huh? He goes, like the one that you won. He goes, and he turns around and he says to the class, Rob's ranked like number 1 or 3 or something in the world. And I went,
Oh my God.
oh my God.
That is too funny.
So for all the listeners, we were just kidding. There was no T-bar contest in Helsinki that I placed 3rd in, and
It was all made up.
we thought we were just having fun, Wayne and I, going back and forth of who's a better roller, better T-bar guy, and all that. But it was heartbreaking but hysterical at the same time because he was so depressed that there isn't some sort of competition, because he looked at me and he said, I think I could do well at that competition. And I go, man, I know you could. So
That's too funny.
so then we started talking about, I couldn't stop laughing. I mean, and he took it great. I mean, he was laughing about it too.
Yeah.
But he goes, and every once in a while too, he would just blurt out. He goes, it just sounded so real the way you were talking about it.
He's referring to one of our earlier episodes where Rob said, I think he said like you're number 3 in the world or whatever. I was number 5 in the world or something. I remember Lenny Hall saying he was like number 1 in the world because he walked on water one time with the T-bar, which I witnessed. So I had to give it up to him.
When he do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he dropped it. Yeah, he actually dropped my ranking down.
Right.
I went from, after I saw that, I dropped to 5th in the world. But now that you brought that up, you finished on that thought, or you have anything else?
Well, I mean, I was thinking City Floors has that awesome nailer day. I'm kicking around something that maybe we can do at some of our training centers, and I think that might be fun to have like a T-bar day. Set up some long hallways or something. But I got to do something just for Adam, because he's got to get a golden T-bar somehow.
That's funny you said the golden T-bar, because I was on a job one time and with this guy, and this was like first code didn't go good, the second code didn't. This was like the last attempt to get this job right. His homeowner was going to lose their mind, and it was, the stress was off the charts on this job. And these guys, I was out there on the job with them, and the one guy coated the floor. Like everybody's watching him, like for anything, you know what I mean? Because it's like the tension was you could cut it with a knife. And he came back and he nailed it. So I went home that night and I got a T-bar, and I spray painted with gold, and I put glitter all over it, and I drove over to a shop and I gave him the golden T-bar.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I wasn't going to say this, but since you brought that up, one of the things when we're chasing perfection has been made easy in 2 ways in this industry. So even if you do these things, you're heads and shoulders above guys years ago that didn't have this, and it's a sanding with the power drive. You will get that as perfect as you can possibly get. If you sand the floor with the power drive and that's not perfect enough, I don't know what to say. I mean, you've outdone the industry with that. And also rolling is a technique that I think has come along, has really helped get a perfect floor, as close to perfect as you can get. And as I said before, I don't roll all my jobs. I don't, it just depends on the layout. It depends on which coat. I never roll a seal coat. I don't believe in rolling seal coats. It's my personal opinion. I T-bar all my seal coats. Sometimes I T-bar the last coat, but there are times when the only thing I would touch that floor would be a roller. So technology has kept us ahead of the curve. So we talk about the training centers all the time. You could practice whatever, you can screw up a floor as bad as you want, but there is technology out there. I don't want to get away from our topic, but that will absolutely help, especially if you're a perfectionist. So there you go.
Let me ask you a question. What's the biggest improvement, the last biggest improvement you've seen since the power drive?
You want to know the truth? Of course, that's a stupid question, wasn't it? I'll tell you what it is, Rob.
No, lie to me. I love when people
Okay,
say, let me,
I'll tell you the truth.
I'm not lying. No, lie to me.
So the biggest improvement since the T-bar. Well, that's an easy one for me. I'm trying to think if there's anyone that's
No. I mean in equipment. I'm talking equipment.
Power drive. Oh,
Power drive. I'm going to tell you what mine is.
well,
I was
before
saying this to the class the other day.
hold on a second. Are you saying what is the biggest improvement in equipment since the power drive?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think the last thing I can remember that is anything close to the power drive was when we went from drums to belts. I don't think there's been a bigger improvement since then, till we got to the power drive. Just my opinion.
Yep.
I
agree
remember
with
when you and I say it's just my opinion, that means that
yeah, you think
it's
you're
in
right.
stone, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
right.
And nobody can be right.
That's right. It's just my humble opinion.
Well, here's what the belt sanders did over the drum sanders, the split drums, is that now the learning curve was cut way down when you went to the belts. They're a very much a fine cutting machine, sanding machine, and even the loading the paper and chatters and that type of stuff with the split drum was it was an art, right?
And it eliminated half the time on the buffer trying to remove chatter marks.
Yep. Good call.
So in my humble opinion,
Yes,
this is the biggest thing since the belt sander.
I agree with you on that.
You're kidding.
No, once again. All right. Must be right if we both hit the bell. Rob,
You hit your bell too?
I did. This has been a pleasure talking to you.
It always is.
And
like Roddy Piper said, the pleasure is all mine.
yes, for sure. And to our listeners, thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. We really do appreciate it. And hope everybody's doing well out there. And we're coming into spring. We got out of the winter months. Still some industry challenges, right? I mean, but there's nothing that we can't handle. And we hope everybody's well out there. And we want to thank you again very much for listening to the podcast. We really do appreciate it, Rob and I, and the whole Bona team. And please do stay tuned soon for another episode. I almost had that down pretty good.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. If you don't, spring is coming, so stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Because summer's right around the corner.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, and take care.